So this is my good friend Nora, and 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 months ago, I don't really remember, I got a text from Hunter, who is her personal trainer and a good friend of Nora's, and he said that he was going to send over one of his not only favorite clients but favorite people. And I do kind of a chronic pain management. I deal with the nervous system a lot. I help treat chronic pain. That's kind of what I do here at Greater Than. And he sent her over so I could try to assist with some of the things that she has going on. And I think we've made some really good progress, but regardless of that, he was completely 100% right. She's an amazing person. She has an amazing story, and I think it's perfect for the time that we're in right now. So without further ado, this is Nora.
Bear with me. My name is Nora Moreno, and as I'm here just because God asked me to share my story with you. I did not want to do it. I don't mind sharing my story at all. It's just in a public place. I just don't mind standing over here. So I'm going to pretend we're sitting having coffee or something like that. So. Anyway, as you can probably tell, I'm below the knee amputee. If you look a little bit closer, you may be able to tell, or may not, that I don't have a lot of functionality on my right hand. I can't make a fist. And then if you look a little bit closer, you may be able to tell that I've been burned, so 40% of my body went from here to here. Is burned. Like, just by looking at me, what you may not be able to tell is I struggle with depression. I'm not a health professional like you guys, so all I'm going to try to do is share my story with you. So,
Yeah.
great. This is my good friend Margaret. Anyway, so I'm just going to try to share my story with you, try to tell you the things I've learned, and what are the things I've done so far that has helped me, to stand here in front. So. In front of you today, and my hope is it helps you, in some way, but it may help somebody that you know. So, sorry, I'm so emotional. I kind of had this part under control, but anyway, before I'd like to give you a little bit of background of my life before the depression showed up. It wasn't there all the time. So as you can probably tell, I am from Texas, right? Okay, I'm actually down south. Barbara and I are from Argentina. And so that's the most southern country of South America. Us and Chile were right next to each other. I was born, I was blessed to have wonderful parents that loved me and encouraged me. Had a great support system, extended family, lots of friends. My family was a typical middle class family. My dad had a bakery and my mom was a school principal. I started doing sports when I was pretty young. I was 5 years old and I started doing figure skating, and we lost our coach when I was 8, so tried out swimming and tried out running, and then there was a tennis coach that always wanted me to come to their tennis classes. It just seemed boring, so I didn't want to do it, but I finally went. The very first tennis ball I hit, I was then my sport. And I started playing competitive when I was around 10. And by the time I was 11, I was nationally ranked. So actually I won the most tournaments in 1 year than anybody else had. So anyway. Previous life. So anyway, my life was pretty busy. I also liked getting good grades. Probably not because I like studying, probably just being competitive. I'm sure that's what it was. So anyway, my life was pretty busy. It was, lots of studying, lots of school, lots and lots and lots and lots of tennis, lots of physical training with the national team. And, but it was good. I didn't get to do a lot of the stuff that other kids get to do, sleepovers or, school dances. And it just seemed like we always had an early Saturday morning match or a Sunday morning match that, but it was okay because I liked winning that next match or that next tournament. So anyway, in Argentina, sports and school are a little bit different. There is no sports in school, really, other than PE, and it's just a little bit. So if you want to do a competitive sport, you gotta go outside. Definitely there's no sports in college whatsoever. So if you're a competitive athlete, you have to, when you graduate high school, you kind of have to make a decision if you're gonna go to college and basically give up your sport, or if you're gonna try out, your luck at the professional circuit. I'm a very logical person, so I knew that there was no way that I would make a good living being a tennis pro. So I had already decided before I graduated high school that I would, go to college. I wanted to be a lawyer, and then, I would continue to play tennis, of course, because it's very popular in Argentina, but it wouldn't be at the level that I was playing. So then that was my decision at the time. Argentina, when Barbara and I, well, she's a lot younger than I am, so. But there was a lot of political and monetary turmoil. I'm not going to go into all that, but when I was about 18 years old, the monetary turmoil created a situation where the dollar was really weak. So for a family like mine that, we probably got as far from here to Galveston, that was, the big vacations we would take. We could actually come to the U.S. for vacation and go to Miami and Disney World and New York. So everybody in Argentina were loading up their bags and coming here because it was like a possibility of a lifetime to do that. So we came as a family on vacation here, and while we were here through a series of just kind of bizarre sequence of events, I got offered a couple of tennis scholarships to play here in college. And I had no idea that you could do that you could go to college and study and go to college and play any sport. So to me, it was like, this is banana, right? And so talked it over with my parents and decided, this was a great opportunity and that I would try it out. And, out of the blues, we decided, they got on the plane to go back home, and I stayed here, which was very unusual because I had a very leave it to Beaver lifestyle, with Beaver's mother working full time, right? So anyway, so college life obviously was, quite different. I was, the worst thing that we did with my friends was maybe smoke a cigarette or cut class. And here I was, 1979, disco era, drugs, alcohol everywhere. I was just like, Halloween, I didn't know what Halloween was, so, people wearing cowboy hats, and anyway, I thought there was just some kind of parade going on all the time. So, anyway, it really helped that everybody in the tennis team was from overseas. They were either from South America or Europe or South Africa, so we were kind of all in the same boat. So anyway, that semester, at the end of it, I was supposed to be going back home. Well, that monetary turmoil had changed now, and my parents couldn't afford my trip back home. So when the coach offered me the scholarship again, he was like, yeah, I'm good, So I stayed one more semester. And then I did get to go back home that summer, but going home was also kind of a culture shock, because now I kind of like life here. I kind of like the orderly fashion of Americans, Everybody goes, there's a line, 2 lines on the street, and they, all the cars seem to go there. When a cop stops you, you don't get your wallet out and go, how much do you want? So there were things here that, like I said, there was a lot of turmoil in Argentina. So I liked it here. Anyway, so that year became another year, that year became another year. Next thing I know, I was graduating with a computer science degree, so law was out the window because, I didn't think I was going to stay here, so why study law? So anyway, I had fallen in love. We were talking about getting married. He still had 1 more year in school, so the computer science department offered me a graduate assistantship, so I stayed, and eventually we got married. And things definitely had not gone as Nora had planned, but life was good. I was happy, and we between the 2 of us, we had $50. After we married, and everything was good. But it wasn't. So a few days, just a couple of days after we married, I'm just gonna call them storms. The first storm hit, and so things were not the way it was the year or so that we married. We dated. So anyway, the storms came every 6 to 8 months. I had no idea how to deal with this. My friends, I had no friends because they had all graduated. I was in graduate school now. My family was all the way back home. There's no Zoom, there's no cell phone. There's written letters. Making a phone call is really expensive. So anyway, I'm in this situation now. I have no idea what to do. I do not seek help. I don't, share it with anybody. And before I know it, I'm pregnant. And so, we're going to have this beautiful baby that he's my rock today. And so anyway, I found myself in this situation that I had no idea what I was doing. We moved here to Dallas. We both had really good jobs, made good money. And so for, all intents and purposes, when we looked at us, we looked like the perfect family, both, successful. Now we've got a baby, and but things were not perfect. And so, like I said, I did not seek any help. I didn't share with anyone. So that's how my life was. And in the middle of that, 2 years into the marriage, I get a phone call from my father that my mom committed suicide. So, my world, my house of cards that I'm, trying to keep together, now it just falls apart. And so, my mother had never suffered from depression. It seems like this came on fairly fast. About a month right before she, committed suicide. So, the same way that I didn't share all that I was going with my parents, so I didn't worry them. My father and my brother and the one friend that she shared what was going on with, they didn't share with me, right? Because they didn't want to worry me. So, I was totally hit out of left field, right? And so this was, I went through probably 2 years of, very bad nightmares, crying a lot. Actually, my husband at the time was actually kind of supportive, more than normal. So that was good. But I was obviously depressed, but there was a reason for it, right? And so once again, I did not seek help. I did not go to any support groups, nothing. Just, typical good singles player. I'm going to just play harder, I'm going to try this, I'm down, 6-0, 5-0, I'm just somehow I'm going to win this game, so, but now my mom, who was not only my mom, but she was my friend, she was my North, she had kind of left this pattern for me, and I was in this bad situation. The storms kept getting a little bit, more agitated, and so, I would pray a lot. And so, but, all I could think of, is to take one of us out. So one day I found myself praying that something happened to my husband. And I was just, when I realized that was going through my brain and my heart and my soul, it just terrified me. It's like, what kind of, what are you thinking? So then I turned those prayers that something would happen to me. So I would pray to God, please, cancer, please, whatever, And, thank you, Lord, He did not listen to me. Like sometimes He doesn't listen to all our prayers. He didn't listen to mine. And so then, because He wouldn't have taken care of this, then I would turn around and think, I start fantasizing with this thing that my mom had done, right? And so the idea of suicide was another option. So, you may think, well, one, divorce, sounds pretty logical these days, right? I mean, how many people, well, Barbara and I grew up in an era where divorce was not even legal in Argentina until 1982. I did not know anyone that was divorced. I'm sure there were issues, in marriages and all that, but it just didn't happen. And so for me, it just was not in my vocabulary. So anyway, this kept going on, and probably by the grace of God, He found somebody else and remarried and divorced me. And so now at least, I didn't have all the storms, even though now I had to send my son off with him. So there was a lot of, praying that nothing would happen while my son was over there. So anyway, I had kind of pulled out of this. During all this time, I kept, running every day. I kept playing tennis, exercising. So that was always my saving my mental health, was the exercise part of it. So then, I was like, I'm never, ever dating again. Because I cannot be trusted with this type of, because I missed the mark by like this much. So, I'm 29, my son's 6, I'm like, I'm done, this is it, And so, of course, there was somebody at work and that, started courting me, and I knew them, we were friends from before, they seemed, whatever. So a few years later, I remarried. Unfortunately, that ended in infidelity, and so that didn't work out either. And Nora, every time things would get bad, I would start praying that something would happen to me. And then when that didn't happen, I would go back to that fantasizing. So this idea of suicide was always an out in my head. I ended up divorcing him because the infidelity happened again, and so that was it. So anyway, now I'm 39, and my son's 15, and I still have the same job I had from college. Now I'm an IT director. I'm doing great. My son's starting to drive, so he's more independent. So I will go out and kind of meet up other people. I start dating just for fun instead of getting married, because I'm done with that part. And anyway, so my son now, he's doing well. He's doing well in school, well in sports. He's a little bit rebellious, but nothing. I can't complain at all. He graduates from high school. I buy this beautiful house that I never thought I would be able to afford. So everything is good, and then this emptiness comes over me. So this is the first time that I experienced in 2003 depression for no reason. But in my head, there is no reason to feel this way. In the past, there was, bad relationship. Somebody passed away. This. This time it's like, I'm looking around, I'm like, why am I feeling this way? I think from some of the stuff I've read that, sometimes depression is, and I don't know because like I said, I'm not a professional, but it's almost like your soul, your heart, you're tired and you got to rest, and it's your body's way of saying, we're shutting down. I didn't understand it, it bothered me a lot. Most people, I was a functional, Barbara knew me. She knew, some people, if you really knew me, you could tell there's something a little off. I was more quiet than normal, but I went to work, I did my job, I didn't miss work, but there was this emptiness. And so that was the first time I went to see a psychologist. That's the first time, actually, I went to seek out professional help. They started me on some antidepressants that helped this much. They did put weight on me, and for the first time, which that actually depressed me more. And I've had some bad side effects, so with the doctor's orders, I stopped taking them, and the depression came back even stronger. We tried a different antidepressant, and when you hear antidepressants and it says it may cause suicide, and you're like, okay, how does this work? Well, when you're truly depressed, getting out of bed is physically hard. I would get out of bed because I had to, because I had a huge mortgage. My son is in college. Having a job and having something to do is a good thing. You don't want to just, having an easy life is not necessarily the best thing for somebody that has depression. So anyway, I think what the antidepressants sometimes can give you that enough oomph, because when you're so depressed, you don't even have the energy to do anything. So you don't even have the energy to off yourself. Okay? But sometimes those antidepressants give you that little bit of enough energy to go do something you should not be doing. So just to back up, all this time when I would fantasize about this, I never attempted anything. I never took pills. It was just in my head. But our heads are very powerful, so we have to be, kind of careful what we feed it. And so I fed that idea in there a lot. And so when I found myself, this is only February, I'm at my wit's end. I thought maybe it's my job, so I turned in my resignation to my boss. Now, mind you, I'm by myself, I huge mortgage, college bills, you know. And I just turned in my resignation, and thank God he didn't accept it. He asked me to give me 6 months. Otherwise, I probably would have been out in the street with no idea. I'm depressed. You know, in no shape to go looking for a job. So anyway, early February, you know, it was a beautiful day. But you know, I was like, I'm gonna do this today. So my son, I remember it was early in the morning. He had another class, and he came and kissed me before he left. And I know I pretended to be asleep because I saw him. I probably couldn't do it, you know. So he left. I got up. I took a shower. I paid all my bills because it was in early February. I made sure the house was tidy, and then I went and checked in a very expensive hotel because I was gonna, I guess, without thinking, copying what my mom did. She jumped out of a 5th-story building. So I'm gonna do the same thing. Well, if you look around, there's not that many buildings with open windows and open balconies. So, you know, thought, okay, hotel. So went there. They gave me a room on the 7th floor, and I said, we have something higher. And they said, yes, on the 9th floor. I said, okay, I'll take that. So, paid over $300 for this. Got up there. Now, when I got up there, you know, I started, you know, thinking, I don't want to do this, you know. And I don't know, but there was a voice inside of me, and it felt, and all my coaches were also always awesome, like Hunter, right? I mean, but there was a voice, you know, that voice that if you're a competitive athlete that says, do that one more push, do that, you know, one more mile, you can give it to me, do it, you know. There was this voice that was telling me, you said you are going to do this, now you need to do it. So, I sat down and I wrote a note that had all the phone numbers in the order that needed to be called. I did not want the police calling my son, so I had specific instructions for whoever found me. I wrote down where I parked my car, you know, the bank and the license plate so they could find it. I put the keys there. I said what was in my purse. I even said I've paid the bills for the month of February, so people didn't have to worry about that. And so, you know, I go out there, and I get out in the balcony. I'm going to jump out of this 9-story building, and, you know, I'm short, I'm 5'2". So that railing came up to here. Like really. And so I come back inside because, you know, I don't want to do it. Now I don't want to do it. I'm chickening out totally, but that voice is kind of challenging me. And so I wasn't gonna write my son a note because my mom didn't write me a note. That wasn't the reason in my head, but I think it was because if I wrote that note, I was gonna get emotional. When I'm depressed, my depression is as if Scotch has turned that light off. So that light bulb can give light, but when you turn it off, there's no light coming off. So it's kind of a nothingness. I'm not sad, I'm not happy, I'm not crying, you know. It's like this. So I thought, no, I want to write him a note. So I wrote him a note, and I basically told him, you know, my son had really turned to the Lord already, and so I told him that I was very sorry, you know, how much I loved him, and how sorry I was for what I was about to do. And but I knew in my heart that he was going to be okay because he loved God. So I knew he was going to be okay. I knew he was going to be sad, but he was going to make it. And I told him that the thing that made me the saddest was I was not going to get to see my grandchildren. I wasn't gonna get to meet my grandchildren when he got married. At the time, he was 21. So, I wrote this note, and of course now I'm crying. So now I'm breaking down, but I'm still not. I'm gonna go do this. So I go out there, and I come back in, and I got down on my knees, and I prayed to God. And I wouldn't say it was a prayer. I just talked. And I just told him, I don't know what to do. I'm tired. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I feel like I'm a burden to everybody. And I just want to be with you. You say we're going to be with you, then let's do this. I want to be in your arms. I want to be with you now. And so, I cried again. But, okay, I'm going to go out there. So I go out there. And it's February, it's cold, it's, in the morning. There's a lady that comes out on the 9th floor next to me with her cell phone. And she's having a cell phone conversation. Get out of there. Because I don't want to hurt anybody else. I don't want anybody to see this. I don't want to shock anybody. Of course, I'm not thinking, what I'm doing to my son. I know exactly how it feels for a child to lose their parent to this. And I love my son to the moon and back, but your brain is not working properly. I did a lot of things that made sense, then some things just absolutely made no sense. So, I'm sure the lady was, an angel maybe that God said, go out there and see if you can, distract her from a little bit, because anyway, eventually the lady will go back out inside. And I went back out there, and like I told you, the railing was very high, and so I had to actually jump over it, not jump, but crawl over it, and I held on, like kind of, I don't know if you're in a ride or something. And also, I didn't want anybody to be around, so I'm looking around, and there's a worker coming by, and so I'm just, I'm waiting for him to go by, and he goes by finally, and then I let go. And so, I jumped out of a 9-story building, and, I think that the only reason I'm here today talking with you is because I talked to God, and I asked him, that I wanted to be in his arms. And I think I must have been, because, there was not one scratch on my face. I did not break one nail. I must have landed, there was a huge tree. I don't even remember, but they say that there was a big tree. And that's where this arm got caught in that tree, and that's where it got mangled. I have lots of nerve damage. And so, and I must have landed standing up. I did break my femur. In my leg, on my right leg, I must have landed this way, I guess. Nothing happened on the left side. No internal organs, nothing. There was a huge hole. I still had my leg, but I shattered the talus bone. So I had like a 4-inch hole on this part of my foot. And so Barbara was my friend already then, and so I was at Parkland. I don't remember much. But before getting to Parkland, I think, thank God for first responders, right? They happened to be driving by that hotel when this happened. So when they called them, they came right in. Now, the one thing I do remember is one of them, probably, I assume it was a firefighter working on me. I remember I was fighting him, actually. I was fighting him off, and he was trying to do something on my chest, probably. I don't know. It felt like he was trying to rip my shirt off. And I know I was fighting him, and I told him, leave me alone, I want to die. And the last thing I remember, he said, not on my watch. So, that was lights out. Thank God for that angel. Do not know who he is, you know. But, you know, so now here I am, you know, I did not intend to be a partner. You know, now I'm still, it's not like, of course I've been saved, but I'm still depressed. And now I have to face everyone. So, you know, it wasn't fun, you know. I mean, people were extremely supportive. I mean, I had, you know, I always say if it wouldn't be for my family and my friends, I could be easily one of those people out there in the streets. And so that's the difference, I think, between us, you know, that are here and those people out there, you know, your support system. So take care of your support system. I was very blessed to have a wonderful support system. So anyway, there was a long road to recovery. They were supposedly going to save my foot. We were about to start the operations. I had been at Parkland about a month already. The leg, you know, that hole kept getting infected, right? And so anyway, right before they started all the reconstruction operations, one of the doctors came by, or one of the surgeons, and said, have you thought of amputation? And I was like, what are you talking about? And so it was explained to me what they were going to do, which was actually just kind of fuse my foot together. I already had kind of an apparatus that somehow kept my foot out, otherwise my foot should just flop because of that talisman. And you guys that are kind of professionals probably understand that better. But anyway, so, you know, I was an athlete, right? I mean, I ran every single day. Maybe one day a week I took the day off. But I mean, I ran, I played tennis, you know, like, what are you talking about? You're gonna, I mean, I never even knew an amputee other than seeing somebody in the street or in a movie, you know. And so he's like, well, if it's my foot, I would amputate, you know, because you're looking at 2 more years in here of operations and infections and this and that. So anyway, I asked them, with the help of a friend of mine that's a doctor that was kind of coaching me through all this craziness, I asked for 3 days to think about it, and they decided that, you know, to amputate. And so, you know, they amputated this arm, was like this. And they had told me I would never be able to move this arm ever again. Forget the hand, it was not even the arm. You're gonna look like Napoleon for the rest of your life. Okay? So here I am, you know, no leg, Napoleon here, you know, still depressed, right? About 4 months, you know, 2 months between Parkland and Levshi, 2 months at a rehab facility, go home, went to get a huge operation on this arm to see if they could take part of this nerve, move it down here, and see if I could get functionality in my hand. And it didn't happen, but at least, you know, we tried. You know, I was willing to try anything because I'm right-handed. excited because it was very long. The issue was everywhere I went to get it fitted for a prosthetic, they were all like, it's gonna be hard. And I'm like, what do you mean? They left a lot of the leg. And they're like, well, you're right in between this and that, all these names. I have no idea what they're talking about. Turned out the application they did was not so good. And so it was very, my stump that used to be kind of like a little cushion and nice, it was just a bone, very bony. And so even when we would go to the mall, like with Barbara, I'm like an old person looking, where's that next seat, because this, it would be like standing on your elbow. I don't care how thin, how strong, it's, you stand on the wall, it hurts. So all my ideas of going back, so now I'm still kind of depressed, I've gained weight, and I can't even walk at North Park Mall, I can't exercise, this arm, we got it to move, so the arm, we got this, the hand, we're still working on it, right, Scott? Right. It's Frankenstein, he's gonna bring it back after 15 years, we'll see, I have faith. So anyway, life was not exactly like I had thought it would be. As you see all these amputees running, like I said, I couldn't even walk, not even half a mile. No, forget it, no way. So the solution to that problem was to get revision. It's the marketing word for we're going to amputate on you again. So, it was like, no, I don't think so. Not until like I'm retired and I'm, in Maui, with a pina colada. I don't want to go through all this again, So anyway, I kept postponing that. In the meantime, 3 years after that, I'm working full time. I'm starting to travel again. I used to travel quite a bit for work. I'm starting to travel again. And on a Sunday, I think you and I were supposed to go out to lunch, and I said no, she's going to stay home. And anyway, I'm boiling eggs, and I decided I need to go reach over the top of the stove, and the end of my nightgown caught on fire. So. Thank goodness I had my prosthetic leg on. I lived by myself at the time. My son was living in California. And so, that was, burns are just another level. I mean, I was blessed actually, I think, that because my lungs were badly burned, that I was put in an induced coma. So I don't remember all the horrible things when I go to the support groups that the burn survivors talk about, that they do to them, and the pain, the level of pain that they have to go through. So, I was spared from that, so I don't have any nightmares on that. By the time I woke up, I looked like a mommy. I was rocked old, white, and I had no idea, that 2 months had gone by even. So, anyway, that was the burns, and so I know I'm taking way too long, right? So,
You're good.
So anyway, then again, I made it through the burns. Burns really constrict your skin. So, my burns actually start from around here. Actually, when I actually saw myself in the mirror in my bathroom, I was like a ball of fire. So yeah, it was up in my hair everywhere. So I'm blessed that it didn't get too badly burned on my face. But your skin is all my front and my back is burned. So for about a year I had to sleep like this. Actually, when I was in the hospital, they kind of tie you up. And then when I came home, it was like, who's gonna tie me up, So my son had, poor thing, And so, here I am waking up from this coma, and I see my son. He's obviously, it's like, what are you doing here? And before he walked in the room, it's when I was starting to wake up from the coma. And I'm by myself, and I'm thinking, this cannot be from God. This is from the devil that's happening. Why has this happened to me? And my son came in, like I said, I couldn't talk. I had a tracheotomy, and so I couldn't talk. And I know I was trying to mouth to him, I am sorry, because I'm thinking, oh my God, here I am, I've totally disrupted his life. And after, we had this falling out, I mean, it wasn't anything major, it was something silly that it always is. But, I remember what he told me. He said, Mom, there's no reason to say sorry, this is for God's glory. And it was like, without him knowing, he was answering this prayer, this questioning that was going in my head, is, where is this from, So that was a big encouragement to me. Of course, I couldn't even tell him that, right, because I can't speak. So anyway, recovering from the burns was tough, but this happened in November of 2008. And I think by March of 2009, I was back working full time. And, lots of physical therapy, because I'm an athlete, physical therapy for me is like a drug. It's like, yeah, oh, candy, give it to me, I love it. So I'm kind of, so weird in that way. So, made progress, but still dealing with the leg. And so anyway, one day, out of the blue, I don't do a lot of social media. I'm in IT, but I'm not a nerd. I actually don't really like computers, so I'm not sure how I got into that. Another story, but I'm in Facebook, and this thing on ATF comes up, and there's this athletes, they're doing stuff, but they're like real people. It's not like the stuff you see all these guys running a marathon or, it's stuff that it's like, oh my gosh. So I'm just watching this grind. So I told my son about it, and so every year my son would be like, Mom, you really need to get that revision on your leg, because that would change. And I'd be like, no, but I don't want, I would always find some kind of excuse, and so when I showed him that, he's like, Mom, look, if you do this, it really help you get back. So anyway, I did go to ATF, and that's where I met Hunter, and we started working out, and I met other amputees, because one of my issues, because of Nora, singles player, I'm going to do it all on my own, I never went to any support groups, because even though, God has saved me, right, I felt guilty. The same way that all these years I kept asking God, why did you give me this son that didn't have a dad? Why did you put me in this marriages? I mean, I should bang the crap out of him. Why, why, all these things. Why? And so, I didn't think going to a support group, I picture, what happened to you, car accident, some drug person run over me, what happened to you? I was serving the U.S. and I got blown out. What happened to you? What happened to you, Nora? I did this to myself. Actually, I'm better off than a lot of you, because in my head, I even questioned that. Why am I not in a wheelchair? Why am I walking? Instead of being thankful, I was kind of always just kind of felt, I don't know. It's, I was and I wasn't, right? Because it was like I haven't been punished enough for what I had done. So Anyway, when I started going to ATF, then I got naturally just met other amputees, and then started going to those support groups. And like I would go to the burn support group because that was an accident. So I was in my head, I'm allowed to go there. This other group, I can't, right? So anyway, through that, I found adaptive tennis, and I got back into tennis. I did make the decision to have the revision done, and so now I can stand here. Otherwise, I couldn't even have stood here this long. The talk would have been a lot shorter. You may have been thankful for that. But anyway, so you know, it's. I'm not sure that those are all the things that have happened. The things that I have learned is, and it is what I'm trying to do, you know, having Hunter, having Barbara, having Scott, is when I feel okay, because the depression has come back, unfortunately. The medications, they don't work on me. All they do is put more weight on, and so the way I look at depression, it's almost like if today it's sunny, so if I look outside, I can see O'Reilly Auto Parts, and I can see cars out there, but it's a foggy day, and you can't see. But everybody else seems to see everything. They can see the O'Reilly sign, and they're going, the O'Reilly sign's over there. You know, and you're like, I don't see it. So you just have to, you know, put one foot in front of the other and just wait till that fog lifts up. In my case, that takes, Barbara knows, 6 months, 8 months, a year, but it does lift up. And so I just learned to put one foot in front of the other. So, you know, it's hard to deal with somebody that's depressed. Because you don't know what to do. I don't really know. I've been depressed. I don't really know a lot. A lot of my friends that when they start feeling good, they come to me because that's the good thing. You know, with me, the curtain's open. You can come in and I mean, so they come and confide, and I still, you know, it's almost like pain. If you've ever been in a lot of pain, you remember, but you don't. Your brain, thank goodness, we can't quite remember that pain completely, right? Or otherwise, you know, probably there wouldn't be a human race because women would stop at number 1, right? So, you know, but so, you know, I can't, when I'm feeling like I am right now, when I'm feeling good, I can't quite remember. But all I can tell you, if you have somebody that is not feeling good, just be their companion, you know? Help them put that one foot in front of the other. Don't ask them too much, how are you feeling? They don't know. I can't. When I'm depressed, I can't tell you. I'm feeling nothing. I'm feeling the same thing. You know, if there's a CD and beautiful music is coming out of that CD and you hit the pause button, what do you hear? That's what I feel. I don't know. Other depressions may be different. That's mine. So when you ask me how do I feel, you're kind of putting a lot of pressure on me because I don't know. I don't feel anything. And maybe, you know, something fun is happening. Maybe you're even celebrating my birthday. Maybe it's the birthday of, you know, one of my grandkids or whatever. And you know, the feeling is very low, very low. You kind of feel guilty for feeling this way, but that's, you know, that's how my depression is. So, but you know, one of the things is that I know that helps me is when I'm feeling good is build your team, build your whatever, your tribe, build your group, your support group, because that's who is gonna help you put that foot in front of the other. Don't try to do it the single straight away, right? And I still do it. I mean, you can ask Barbara. I mean, that's my normal, you know, recently playing tennis, 22nd, I had to go get a ball that had gotten out of the court, so I'm just walking back in, and if you have a prosthetic, you can't feel. I could probably step on you, and I won't feel like I'm crushing your foot, right? So I didn't feel that there was a lip this big, so I kicked it with this, and then I went with this one, and I tripped, and I fell, and I trained my brain to fall on the good side, because you don't want to fall on the bad side, or you're going to be all over the place. And I fractured my shoulder. Yeah, this is like to Michael Jordan, right? This is my one and only. If I don't have this hand, guess what? When I go to the bathroom, how much help is this guy? So wiping myself is like at the top of my list of things to do. I've been there when I couldn't do it. So it's at the top. So, this freaked me out. Hunter knows, Scott knows, Barbara knows. I went back and down in the pit. And you think, my God, everything you've gone through, it doesn't, we forget. We forget that with the biggest gift we have as human beings is to adapt. We will adapt. You hear my story and you're like, oh my God, no. If you're put in that position, chances are you will figure it out. You will, it may take you longer, it may take you shorter, you may be better at it than I am, but there's a good chance that you will adapt, especially if you have a good support group. So anyway, I'm going to read a couple of things. I know it's late, but I wanted to share a few things, the lessons that I have learned. Okay, there's 10. So one is be careful, and I had to write them down because it was hard to prepare for this. So not because I mind sharing it, it's because I knew I was right down, and so anyway, be careful what you feed your mind. Okay, in my case, I fed it this fantasy of the solution to when I felt that was to do what my mom did. Do you think my mom wanted me to do that, to leave me that? No. But that was my option, and I just kept, playing it up there, and our brains are kind of dumb, They don't really know reality, so that idea from the beginning, why did you give me this husband? Why did you give me a husband that would leave his son? He left my son when my son was 12. Why? And I'm a bad mom because I'm the one that picked this person. So those accusations do not come from God. God doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. So don't listen to those. That's the wrong person talking to you. Okay. So I'm going to read to you some words from a song just when I fractured the shoulder, August 22nd. I went back in the pit. Hunter, Scott, Barbara, my son, the rest of my team, help me. But I have to get out. That's the other thing, suicide, that person has to do it. It's nothing to do with you. Don't take it personal, But, I was in the pit. It was the anniversary of my mom's suicide, which happened in 1986. So, years ago, right? But I'm feeling bad, so I went for a walk. I went to do the things that made me feel better, and still in the pit. So I sit down and I'm crying and just asking God, what happened? I want to know why. Maggie. So I'm like, okay, put Pandora. Put music on. Let's see. So I have the phone on, and this song came that is by a lady named Jem. I don't know that much about it. It's Jem. And it's a call, and the song is called Save Me. And it's basically saved me from my own mind. That's the theme of this song. And this song goes, I've got to stop my mind working overtime. It's driving me insane. It will not let me live. Always so negative, it's become my enemy. Why would I think such things? Crazy thoughts have quick wings, gaining momentum fast. 1 minute I am fine, the next I've lost my mind to a fake fantasy. And none of these thoughts are real. So why is it that I feel so cut up and so bad? I need to take control, because my mind is on a roll, and it isn't listening to me. Insecurities keep growing, wasted energies are flowing, anger, pain, sadness beckon. Panic sets in a second. And this is my favorite line. Be aware, it's just your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And you can stop it anytime. And it says, she goes on the chorus and it says, okay, so here we go. If it works, I'll let you go. No. And it says 1, 2, 3, stop. It's like when Scott tells me, why do you overeat? Just go to bed. Sounds so simple, right? So simple. And somehow that's what I needed to hear that day, you know, and it helped me get out of the pit, went back in. The following day, I had Hunter, I remember I told him, you know, because at night when you break your shoulder, that's at night is when it really hurts. During the day, it's fine, but tonight it'll be bugging me. And so I wasn't getting a lot of sleep, and so, you know, you just, it's hard when you're not feeling good, you know, overall. It's hard to get out of that pit. So I had Hunter at like 8 in the morning, and I'm sitting on my couch, you know, I'm actually crying, you know, I'm not in the normal depressed. This is I'm feeling sorry for myself, you know, all this. And we exercised, and I told him the next day, you know, he's my favorite drug. I mean, after we exercised for, 45 minutes, it's like it was a different world for me. So, but it's so easy to stay in that pit, right? It's so easy to stay in that pit. So, that was number one, just be careful what you feed your mind. The other one is cultivate your relationships, It's make true friendships, really spend time with your family, but quality time, Like I said, I know that there's not much difference. The only difference between me and a person that's sitting out there in the street, living out in the street is, the people that have supported me. So, of course God, but the people that help me put that foot one in front of another. Your time is the best gift you can give to anyone. So whatever that is, just give your time, give it freely. Number 3 is one thing I've learned, because this journey started in 2003, suicide 2005, I've had other operations, that people cannot give you what they don't have, okay? So today, Barbara is sitting here, Hunter, Scott, they're part of my team. Well, in a year from now, in 6 months from now, their circumstances may change, okay? Maybe they're in a place in their lives where they can't be there for me, okay? Or they are emotionally unavailable, okay? And that happens, okay? I'm the same way. When I'm not depressed, I can try helping you out. When I'm depressed, I'm as good as this right here to you. So don't take it personally when people are not there for you, that you thought, man, this person should be there for me. Don't take it personally. So go back to step number 2. We said cultivate your friendships, cultivate your relationships, have backups. conversations with, you know. Not that they're gonna solve your life, but that, you know, you can count for them to help you put that one foot in front of the other. The other number 4 is find what your natural drug is, okay? And take a fix of it and take it often, especially if you're not feeling well. In my case, my natural, you know, things that give you energy, so things that make you feel good. Figure what are they for you? Maybe art. For me, is spending time with my son, with his family, with my grandkids. It's spending time outdoors. It's exercising. It's doing things to get better, you know, with all the issues that I have. You know, I may move the needle this much, or I may just allow the needle to stay where it is, you know. But, you know, that makes me feel better. You know, I like being around water. I know I've mentioned it to them, you know, that I like being around water, watching the sunset around. It's just something about it makes me feel good. Maybe it doesn't make you feel good. Figure what that is, you know, listening to music, whatever, and do it. You know, number 5, don't try to do it on your own. Don't be a singles player, you know. Confide in your close friends. Find support groups. You know, everybody says comparing yourself is not good. Of course it's not. If I compare my abilities to Hunter, to Scott, to Barbara, I'm gonna get depressed. You know, but if I go to a place where there's people that are, you know, really trying hard, and their level is about mine, or maybe a little lower, then they're gonna lift me up. So do the right comparisons, not the ones that are gonna make you feel worse. Number 6, which is one that I'm working on very hard this year. When you encounter a toxic person or a situation, take the nearest exit. Being with a toxic person or in a toxic situation, it's like walking into a garlic room and expecting, and you're not going to eat the garlic, you're not even going to touch the garlic, but guess what? When you step out of that room, you're going to smell like garlic. So that toxicity is going to affect you some way or another. I tend to want to fix things. I like to help and I want to fix, so I tend to stay to see, you know, I'm going to, you know, probably not. So that's one of the things I'm working on. Number 7, darkness, depression, it's a real thing, and people don't like to talk about it. You know, if you read the Bible, what's the first chapter? Most of us know is Genesis. The very first thing God made was light. Why did he make light first? I mean, so many things to do, right? Without light, you can't do anything. So you need to avoid darkness, and you need to, you know, not walk towards the light, but do things. Be light. You can bring light with what you do. What every interaction we do in and out, the way you treat your, you know, your waiter, the way whatever, you can add or subtract to that person's energy, to that person's feeling of darkness. You can be a light or you can be shutting a window down. So try to be a light. And I told you all about the feeling So that's what I want, and don't covet. It's one of the 10 commandments. And it says, don't even covet his wife, his stuff, his donkey, his oxen, nothing. It says don't covet anything of your neighbor. So be careful with that. I know, I thought I was a nice person. Well, that's not a nice thing to do. It brings darkness. You do that when you're unthankful to God for what you have. At number 10, I asked Scott if I could share about God, and our God is. He told me yes. So I hope I'm not offending anybody, but I say my God is amazing. His compassion, His mercifulness, it's just His forgiveness. It's amazing. So one of the things that I'm again this year trying to do is don't murmur. And I don't know if you know what that means, but in the Bible, in the Old Testament, the Jewish people, after God had done all these wonderful things for them, they would murmur. Well, murmuring doesn't mean whispering. It means nagging, just complaining, like, why are you not doing this for me? And why? Don't do that. It's even mentioned in the last chapter of the Bible, in Jude, before Revelation. It talks about murmurers. Sorry, my accent is not that good. But don't do that. And we all, I know I do it, So that's something I think we need to, it shows that you're not thankful. Again, it shows that what God did for you is not good enough, And so, don't do that. One of the things I do, like I said, when I'm feeling bad, I go to the bathroom and I thank God that I can go to the bathroom all by myself. To me, that is huge. So try to be thankful, in everything. Even the things that we perceive as bad things. Those are things that, He's our daddy. He's our teacher. It's like Father knows best, And so it may not make sense to us. We don't see the huge plan He's got. So just accept and be thankful for what He gives you. So anyway, that's my talk.
Thank you to everyone that came today, and thank you to the speakers. You're all amazing. We're going to start this back up again. I think a little normalcy would be good for everyone. And anyways, thanks a lot. We'll see you next month.
Woo!